Welcome to another episode of the Ginger ROAMance. Here, you'll hear anonymous stories from travellers all over the world. Real submissions from real people. Tales of connection, romance, passion, heartbreak, friendship, and love in all its forms. Because every kind of love deserves to be told. This week's episode is called Waterfalls and Wild Hearts from Don Det, Laos. I was on my way to Don Det, a tiny little island tucked among the 4,000 islands in Laos. Don Det is the kind of place you can only reach by clambering into a wobbly little boat. I was struggling to get my luggage on board without falling into the Mekong when another traveller, getting onto the boat with his girlfriend, jumped in to help me lift my bags. We landed on the island, exchanged a quick smile, and headed off in opposite directions. The next day, I hired a push bike and I cycled around the island, taking in the local scenery. It was unbelievably hot, the kind of heat that makes your bones feel warm. So on the way back, I ducked into a little pub for an ice-cold beer and some lunch. I was the only person in the pub, and with no music playing, the vibe was dead. Luckily, I had my speaker with me, so I put on some tunes and settled in for a solo afternoon. That's when the couple from the boat walked in. They ordered beers and sat at the table furthest away from me. I am naturally more of an introvert, so striking up conversations with strangers doesn't come easily to me. I sat there building up the courage to say hello and hoping they would reciprocate in conversation. There was a tightrope strung across the middle of the pub. Don't ask me why. And the guy hopped on it straight away, gliding across with perfect balance. His girlfriend decided to try too, and as she climbed on, I thought it was the perfect time to strike up a conversation with them. Within minutes, I'd invited them to join me at my table. And just like that, the three of us spent the whole afternoon drinking beers, chilling out, and chatting. They were honestly some of the kindest, most genuine people I had ever met. And her smile, oh my God, it was intoxicating. I just wanted to be around her energy. We separated to watch the sunset and grab dinner. Then we met up later that night at this quirky little bar, built like a library, with books stacked all along the walls and musical instruments everywhere. He soon ended up on the drums, jamming with locals, creating music out of thin air. He is such a talented musician. He could pick up any instrument and play any song. It was so impressive. It was such a wholesome scene. Strangers banding together, pun absolutely intended, to create something magical. She and I sat watching, drinking, dancing, and laughing. That girl can make me laugh until I cry and I'm wheezing for air. The connection was instant and effortless. The next day we met again for lunch and some more beers. The night played out just like the one before, except this time we swapped beer for skinny bitch cocktails, a running joke for the entire evening. We discovered we were all heading to Paxi in the coming days. They told me their plan, to hire a bike and ride the Bolaven Plateau chasing waterfalls. And they asked me if I wanted to join them. My first reaction was a hard no. That was way too far outside of my comfort zone. She saw my hesitation immediately and reassured me there was no pressure. But something in me snapped to life, and before I could overthink it, I said, "Yep, I'll come along. It scares the shit out of me, but I'll do it." I didn't want this incredible connection the three of us had built in just 2 days to be over just yet. Fast forward a few days, and the three of us were in Paxi. Bikes hired, bags packed, hearts open. We set off on a 256-kilometre ride around the plateau. Thank God he was with us. He mapped out the whole route, planned the stops, and kept us all going. We explored breathtaking waterfalls, including some where we were completely alone. It felt like our own private paradise. That night we found a homestay and ended up staying with a local family. We visited the village, bought ingredients from the market for dinner, and even watched a cow being butchered, which ended up being on our plates. It was wildly outside of my comfort zone, yet one of the absolute highlights of my entire trip. I never would have done it alone, and I will be forever grateful to them for opening up that experience to me. The night I had to say goodbye to them was one of the saddest days of my trip. We met for a quick drink, and then I walked them to the bus station for their ride to Vientiane. She and I hugged for what felt like forever, holding on to the soul connection that we'd built. As they boarded the bus, I walked away, waving like a kid, with tears streaming down my face. I cried the entire walk back to my hotel. The days that followed were heavy. They were the first people I'd met on my travels that I connected with on such a deep, soulful level. I wondered if I would ever meet anyone like them again. We kept in touch, video calls every now and then, and when I was finally on my way to England, where they live, we planned to reunite and spend a long weekend together. I stepped off the bus in Leeds, feeling nervous as hell. Would the connection still be there? Is it going to be the same? What if it's awkward now? And then I saw her, standing across the road, smiling like sunshine. We both started jumping up and down, waiting for the traffic light to change so we could run into each other's arms. We spent the weekend in the Lake District in a cozy Airbnb, exploring the countryside, cooking incredible food, drinking far too much, laughing endlessly, bursting out into random dances, and diving into the most stimulating conversations. Around them, I felt completely seen, free to be exactly who I am, knowing I'm held, challenged, understood, and completely loved. It's a weekend I will never forget. Everyone had said to me before I went on my trip that I would meet so many amazing people, but I never thought I would meet people like these two. These people are my people, soul-aligned humans, and I know they'll be in my life forever. We still catch up for video calls when we can, and it still brings me so much joy to have them in my life. I cannot wait until the day I get to see them again. I believe that this is proof that soulmates are real, and sometimes they're in the form of a best friend. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're following along to keep up to date with weekly stories that will inspire, entertain, and maybe even make you fall in love with the idea of love itself. Got your own romance story and want to be a part of the Ginger Romance community? Check the notes for details on how to submit your own.